very welcome, and thank you for being here. And Michelle, to follow on from your comment, as one takes more steps down the spiritual path, at least what I've discovered, and is that more and more often the wills converge. What is formerly, kind of my separate egoic will versus some other will for a greater good being divergent or separate or even in opposition to each other. As I dig deeper more into my spiritual practices and immerse in my spiritual journey, more and more often those wills are one and the same. So there is this convergence, this coming together, this merging of the greater good, the greater will, in more and more aspects of my life and more facets of my life. I would love to say that that's complete in every area of my life, but certainly, yes, I'm like everyone else. There are certain areas that I'm growing, and therefore I notice in those growing areas, hey, I want to do one thing and I'm being pulled to do something else. I want to choose in one direction, yet there's something in my heart choosing a different direction, a different path. So thank you for that. So I thought, as far as the poem is concerned, what if that is flipped into the present tense? Meaning, right, because Frost was looking backwards, and there was kind of a tongue-in-cheek joke around this poem about another colleague poet of his who was indecisive when they would go on walks. And but this idea of the fork in the road, the choice, and it might not just be two choices. I just want to be clear, I'm not a binary person. It could be this, that, or the other. And this, that, or the other opens people to life as shades of gray, not life as either or. And life is really a shade of gray arcing toward the light, right? But what if two roads diverge? Right now, I'm at that point of choosing. And I deliberately choose the one less traveled. And I'm choosing the one less traveled for maybe a variety of reasons. But I'm thinking and feeling, maybe in my heart, the road less traveled might make a bigger difference. Whether it's a bigger growth opportunity or whether it's a greater good emerging in my life. But there comes a point when, even just out of a sense of adventure or curiosity, that somebody picks the path less traveled, right? Less traveled, because they know the path they've traveled has, a certain result. It has a certain outcome. It has a certain experience, expression. And by that certainty, there is potentially a limitation in taking that road well known, that path well known. Whereas choosing the path less traveled by, choosing something new and different, now mentally, emotionally, I'm opening up to something that has more possibility. It has more potential. It is more interesting. It is more expansive in some way. So I think that the nature of people to, be in a groove, to be on, they commute to work on this path and they commute home from work on that path every day, day in, day out. There is a tendency for that. And there's a tendency for that for a lot of reasons. But how much more interesting metaphysically, knowing that commute, metaphysically, spiritually, gets you to that location and back. Choosing a different path now metaphysically opens you up to new vistas, to new views, to new points of view, to new possibilities, to new modes of expression and experience, to new ways of sharing and caring. And this is, to me, the path forward, the upward spiral of one's spiritual journey that you are on and that I am on. So I think spiritual practice plays a huge part in having a certain degree of confidence in choosing the path less traveled, to have a certain degree of adventure, of excitement, of opening. So the more you meditate, the more you treat and affirm, the more you vision, the more you journal, the more you immerse in spiritual study, the more likely you are to be conscious of those choices in your life as they're happening, to take that pause when you are at choice, to attune to something higher, to attune to something deeper, something beyond the five sensory, something beyond that objective data in your life. And in so doing, your choices are more powerful, they're more informed, definitely in my case are more interesting, making choices now that I would never have considered choosing 15, 20 years ago before I really immersed myself on my spiritual journey. And then, continuing along those lines of spiritual practice, seeing your practitioner, being a sacred service, giving as a spiritual practice, and joining in your beloved community. These are all spiritual practices that help empower you. And again, this is a teaching of liberation, as Reverend Sunshine likes to point out, and I wholeheartedly agree. In so doing, the more you are at choice and the more you are conscious of those choices, the more you are making liberating choices for yourself and others, the more you are freeing yourself to that fuller and greater expression. And what you're expressing is the truth of your being, that at your essence, you are pure spirit. And therefore, what you are choosing when you recognize that about yourself, when you feel that about yourself, when you listen to your heart, what you're choosing is a greater revelation of that spiritual truth, a greater revelation of the love, the joy, the peace, the intelligence, the creativity, the compassion, the health and well-being, the truth of your being at your essence. So far, everybody's accepting what I'm saying. I'm surprised.
I'd like to comment on what you're talking about, if I may, just for a moment, Rev Kev.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Even it's interesting because I think that as I'm looking at the array of the 29 folks, that are on our call this morning and in this spiritual community, we're all on various paths. So there might be some things that Reverend Kevin is talking about that seem like so spiritually advanced or so spiritually unadvanced for those of us who, if there's any folks who are like, oh yeah, been there, done that. I think what's, for me, I think what's touching is that whether we're judging where we are on our path, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that I am on a path. And if there's just one thing that I can begin to incorporate in my life as a choice, any one of those things that you've suggested actually enhances a fulfilling life. It just kind of goes back to our vision and mission. And then there are days where some may not want to be all quote unquote spiritual, it's just like, I'm not feeling that spiritual today, but even in those times, I think what's important is that when I'm faced with decision or choice, can I just even ask myself as a base question is this decision that I'm making for the highest and best of all involved, or how, or am I being selfish and self-centered and self-seeking? Some days it'll be like, yeah, this is all about me. I'm making this choice for me. And then other days it's really about, not only is this decision that I'm making or this choice that I'm choosing gonna benefit me, but it's actually gonna benefit some other people as well. Like there's this expansion that happens. And so, for me, I think that it's wonderful to be accepting of where I am. And, I still have aspirations, and yet just listen again, back to the monthly theme, listening to my heart, going back and taking that pause. And though there are many of us, on this call who know very well the serenity prayer, and this is like, even in that moment, it's like, love, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and courage to change the things I can. Like, what can I change? What are my choices here? What are my decisions? And when I pause, that pause, just even the pause is a spiritual practice. Like that pause, just to pause, is that in itself is an amazing spiritual practice. Um, so yeah, so I just wanted to share that's the richness that I got from what you've been sharing so far and what other folks have shared. Reverend Kevin, thank you.
Bertha, I see your hand up. You have to unmute. Thank you.
The universe provides. I so needed this. I've been in this struggle of my morning spiritual practice. It's debate I'm having. The other day I was like, wow, I really understand how people believe in the devil. If I believed in the devil, I could blame this on the devil. And, I was trying to figure it out, and you just gave me the answer. It's just a simple choice. And my day is so different without my morning spiritual. I'm totally aware of it. And it's also a very emotional experience, but what I find out, I just get it out in spiritual practice, and then I have this amazing day. And if I don't, I carry that. And I don't have an amazing day, and still I struggle with it. And thank you for writing your message for me. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
And now it's just as simple as I've always known. It's just my choice.
Thank you for that. So I have some quotes I will share with you. Take them for what they're worth. The first one I have is from Gandhi. True morality consists not in following the beaten track, but in finding the true path for yourself and fearlessly following it. And this from Ram Dass. It is important to expect nothing, to take every experience, including the negative ones, as merely steps on the path, and then to proceed. And then this one from Pema Chodron. You are the sky, everything else is just the weather.
I love that one.
And from Thoreau, pursue some path, however narrow and crooked, in which you can walk with love and reverence. And from Ralph Waldo Emerson, what lies behind you and what lies before you are tiny matters compared to what lies within you. And from Thich Nhat Hanh, there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way.
Oh yeah, happiness is the way.
Yes. So I just invite you to turn your attention inward. And become quiet and still, and close your eyes if you're comfortable. And just become aware of that natural pattern of your breathing. Just noticing each in-breath and each out-breath. And you might say silently to yourself, I'm breathing in and I'm breathing out. I'm breathing in and I'm breathing out. And in this calm and receptive state, notice that you are on a path, that you are on a journey. And notice that that path is not static, it's not stationary, but it is dynamic. It is always changing. And notice that you are at choice. Even if that choice is to respond to a detour or a challenge. And notice that if the direction you once chose no longer serves your highest and greatest good, that you can choose and correct course. Notice that you are fully awake and alert to the risks and benefits of your choices. And that your choices go beyond that objective assessment. That your choice is informed beyond reason to those subtle bodies of your being, your heart, your intuition, your feeling, your goodness, your godness. And notice that the path you choose is influenced by all things. It is influenced by your earthly expression and experience. But it is moreover and more frequently influenced by living spirit, by the metaphysical, by first cause, by the universal good that right now conspires and converges for your greatest good. You and I are part of an upward spiral of living spirit. We are part of a divine circuit. And that circuit often changes paths. It often corrects course. It is often in series. It is often in parallel. But it is always that path to the highest and greatest good for you, for me, for all. And in that is our moment of great liberation, of great fulfillment, of great connection, of great communion. And so grateful for this moment of high resolve, this moment of choice, of liberation. I just say thanks. I release this all into the law of mind in action, knowing as it is spoken, it is so. That liberation, that freedom is yours and mine right now. It's happening right now. And together we say, and so it is. Well, thank you all very much.
So it is. Thank you so much, Reverend Kevin.
You're welcome.
So appreciate this, the message, and then even just this experiential deepening. And as you are coming out of this experience, this is available all the time. You know, what I love is that what we've been learning is that actually we don't have to go anywhere. It's not in the building. I read a sign that said, church is open, but the building is closed. So our spirituality is open, we're open, the building is closed, and we're meeting here in the virtual realm. And so that actual physical spiritual realm that you just visited in that amazing prayer is available to you all the time. It is right where you are.